Ahoy hoy! So you join me today in my garage and it's absolutely freezing at the minute, hence the reason I'm sporting this homeless beard look. Now I'm going to be taking a look at a set of XTR 9120 cranks. I wanted to do this video because I couldn't find a good video on YouTube which explained these cranks in detail. They all seem to be effectively PR releases for Shimano, talking about how the 12 speed is the greatest thing in the world. Now that's absolutely fine, but I wanted to know about the detail of these, so I thought, well, if nobody else has created one, I'll make one, and then I might be able to help somebody else in the future who's interested in these details as well. So let's get started. So we have the crankset itself, the bottom bracket and the chainring. I'm going to start with the crankset first, so I'll just move these out of shot. So the crankset comes in this XTR branded box, and it's got some details on the side. It's available in a few different options, so you can get it in the 9100 or the 9120 that I have. The difference is the Q factor, so the 9100 is 162mm and the 9120 is 168. So that's basically the width of the crank, and it's also available in 1x or 2x in both of those options, and it's available in 165mm, 170 or 175mm length cranks. So I've got the 170s. So let's get inside the box. It's quite a nice looking box actually. So we've got the non-drive side arm, and then a fairly complicated box here. This must have taken somebody quite a while to design. So just pop that out. You've got the drive side arm. I must say these things are really beautiful in person. I know it's only an aesthetic thing, but they do actually look amazing in person. And then what else we got in here? Got some basic instructions, and then all the spacers and tools that you'll need. So you've got the spacer for the non-drive side, the lock ring for the chain ring, and then the tool for attaching the chain ring. So let's get these out. They're all the parts that you get inside the box. So we'll start with the drive side. So as you saw before, really beautiful in person. It uses a steel 24mm spindle. So I've not noticed that much difference between the 24 and the 30mm. I mean, there is a noticeable difference, but it's not huge in terms of stiffness. And then it uses this new splined interface for connecting the chain rings. You can see it has one of the splines is slightly larger than the rest, which is how you orientate the ring. Then here is the lock ring for securing the chain ring in place. Here's the tool, which uses a bottom bracket tool interface, or you can use a spanner or a vise. And then here's the spacer, which goes on the non-drive side. It does have a little lip on it, so you make sure you got it the correct way. I'll show you how that goes in a minute. And then the non-drive side uses an 8mm Allen key for tightening it up, and then it uses this gripped preload. You can also use a 2mm, if I can find one. You can use a 2mm to go through the holes on this. Get that to show up, to give you a bit more leverage when you're setting the preload. So I'll get the chain ring. These are available in lots of different sizes, from 30 to 38. You can get third-party chain rings for these, but I think the Shimano one looks really beautiful, so I decided to go for that. These chain rings are slightly different from normal narrow wide. They use a slightly different profile for the teeth, so you need to make sure you have a compatible chain to go with these. And then you just line up the large ridge, and then just press it into place. And then you just need to slide the lock ring on. You see the threads are pretty deep on it. Just push that in place, and then you just pop the tool on top, line that up, and then you just need a bottom bracket tool. You literally just tighten that in and just remove the tool, and you've got the chain ring on it. Looks really nice, this direct mount. And then on the other side, the way this preload system works is you need to orientate the spacer so you have the very slight lip pointing towards the bottom bracket. So it would go like that, and then you just tighten it on, get the focus, and then you just do as I showed before, which is just tighten up the preload to take any slack out of the interface. I still recommend to use the BB93 if you've got a threaded bottom bracket, which I do. These are the ones they've been using for a number of years. They're really small bearings that are in them, or I believe the actual bearing sits inside. It's not a cartridge bearing. Bearings just sit inside the races that are on the end caps for these. As we can see, they're double sealed. And they have the little inner tube, and they have some pre-applied grease. And then you've got your spacers, and then it uses a tool for installing it because the shell is slightly smaller than a traditional bottom bracket, but the tool just fits the existing bottom bracket tool, and then you just tighten the bottom bracket up with that. Obviously you can run any sort of bottom bracket you want with this, but I decided to go with the XTR bottom bracket. So once the system's all in place, you'd have the crank arm, chain ring, bottom bracket, then the spacer and the non-drive side arm, and then you just tighten it up. But anyway, there's the details of the crank itself. So that was a look at the XTR 9120 cranks. If you've got any comments or questions, just drop them in the comment section below. I'm always happy to answer questions, and thanks for watching.